Hey guys, really excited for today's podcast as always. My great friend Emma is back and we're going to talk a lot about mixed martial arts, specifically jiu-jitsu. I think you guys will get a real big kick out of it. I've recently had a jiu-jitsu match myself, as well as Emma has had many matches and she's a blue belt, way better than me. I've actually trained with her. It was very emasculating. A lot of fun though. So sit tight. I really think you guys are going to enjoy this. If you like mixed martial arts or jiu-jitsu or want to learn a little bit more about the crazy stuff that I post when it comes to that sort of thing, I think you'll be intrigued by it. So stick around. We're going to talk about mixed martial arts for women, how that's evolving, and just the strength and the power that you gain from finding this knowledge within yourself, the things that you're capable of actually doing, not necessarily being violent, but the capabilities that you have inside yourself that you just don't know until you try. So like I said, sit tight, stick around. You're really going to enjoy this. Thanks so much again, as always, for coming through. Can't wait for you guys to check this one out as well. My name's Stuart. This is my friend Emma, and this is the Not Your Mother's podcast. Brought to you by Jameson and Jack Daniels. So, to introduce, this is my friend Emma Valdez. And she has built an incredible personal brand on social media known as BJJ Girl, which stands for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But she's been training Jiu Jitsu for...
I started in 2010, actually.
2010.
January 2010.
So for seven years
But
plus.
it hasn't been consistent. It's like...
But you train every year for some portion of that year.
Yeah.
So she's been training for 7 years. Which is evident by the fact that she has she's worked her way up in the belt system, and I have not, because I've only trained just a couple weeks. So we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk about jiu-jitsu. We're going to talk about Colts. We're going to talk about social media marketing, something that both of us have varied degrees of experience in. Mostly her more than me, except for the Colts. So we're going to get into it, and I want to kind of interview you a little bit to start off, Emma, and kind of talk about what, because that's a long time to do any one thing.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu especially. And then let me break it down just a little bit, and you can speak more to it, but jiu-jitsu is not mixed martial arts. Am I correct?
Correct.
It is one of many martial arts, and I'm not demeaning it by saying that, just... A lot of us don't know what's what when it comes to that. MMA is a real fun buzzword these days between Bellator and the UFC, and Muay Thai and a lot of other, as you trickle down and get into the smaller versions of it. But Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is grappling, and I think there are some that allow striking. Is that correct, or am I completely incorrect?
Well, I think it just depends on your school, what they teach. If there's jiu-jitsu where it's more self-defense, it's competition jiu-jitsu.
But for the most part, it's grappling. It's wrestling.
It's grappling, but you also do like throws. So it's not just always on the ground.
Okay.
Like you're standing up.
Okay, got it. So that's just a little bit of like a help me and everyone else to understand kind of what jiu-jitsu is. So Emma, what got you started in jiu-jitsu? What was it that was the catalyst that got you going?
So at the time, I actually had just gotten out of a really bad relationship, and I started dating somebody, and he used to train Muay Thai, and he used to do jiu-jitsu, but it was no-gi jiu-jitsu. And
sorry, real quick. So Muay Thai is all striking, right?
Yes, it's all striking. It's
so
like
I would compare it. What little I've seen, I would compare it to kickboxing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can box, but you can also kick.
Yes.
Okay, so that's Muay Thai, and then no-gi. Can you explain that to me?
No-gi is basically without your kimono. It's kind of like what you see in the UFC when they fight. You have like your rash guard, or guys will wear like no top, and then just like the fight shorts.
Right. So
that's
a gi is that outfit that you guys wear. That to me, that doesn't really know jiu-jitsu, looks like a karate outfit, kind of.
Yes.
Usually white or blue, sometimes black. It has nothing to do with karate. I understand. But for the rest of us that don't train,
it would look like
like a karate outfit. Just to speak to that and explain it. So you were training, or he had trained no-gi, which was grappling without the gi, without the karate type outfit.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I wanted to learn. I actually wanted to learn a long time ago when I was like really young, but I wasn't allowed because of religious beliefs and because I was female. So here I was. I think I remember think I was like 29. And so I wanted to learn, especially because I had just gotten in a really bad relationship, and it kind of, we still had to see each other because we had a child together. So there was like some co-parenting going on. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I would never get put in that situation again. And if I did, I would know how to protect myself. So I wanted to start training. I did. I started training out in Fight Lab in Temecula. And that's kind of like where my jiu-jitsu journey started. I just started going in, started training no-gi. But by the second week that I went, which was maybe like my third class, I tore my ligaments in my ankle. So that was fun.
And that puts you out for how long? That
put me out for probably like almost a year. Yeah, it was a long time. I had to be in crutches. It still bothers me to this day. Like I can't really wear heels, or sometimes, especially when it's cold, I feel it.
So it's a chronic thing now.
Yeah. They had told me to probably I should have had surgery. But
that's you though.
I had kids. I had my boys, and I couldn't take time off for surgery. I had to work. But yeah. So it took me out for a long time.
So walk me through, if you don't mind, walk me through that injury a little bit. As far as you had just started training. You were a couple weeks in, not even a month in.
It was like my second week.
Your second week. And what happened? Do you remember exactly what happened?
So I think it was probably only like my third class, and we were actually being taught by a judo instructor, which was really weird. But so what happened is you had to start in a certain position, and you had to score.
Meaning you had
to pretty much get out of that bad position, and the bad position was, I think. I'm trying to remember because I know how it happened. I just don't know what led up to it.
You remember the transition.
Right. So what had happened, I got put in a really bad position. I got out of it. The girl that injured me, it was her first class. And so...
Oh, man.
So what happened was I kind of was like on my hands and knees. No, I wasn't on my hands and knees. Or I was. I was on my hands and knees, but I had so with jiu-jitsu sometimes you have your toes really you have them on the mat, as you've noticed before from training yourself. And so I was on my tippy toes. And so she came at me from the side, and when she came at me from the side, it basically, so this is my ankle, and it basically just did this. So like my foot stayed on the ground, and the top just, because she came at me like that. So my ankle just did like that, and it just, all I heard was pop, 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 pop.
Oh my God.
I heard it. It was really crazy, and I just grabbed my ankle, and I rolled over, and it was weird because I didn't have immediate pain, but it blew up like a softball. And yeah, that was just the second week, and I had to go to the hospital.
So let me ask you this then, because that.
Oh, let me just say real quick.
Go ahead, yeah.
So we were done. I won.
Oh, okay.
I got out of the bad position, and she didn't know that she was at that point supposed to stop. So she went to attack me.
So this was completely unnecessary.
Exactly. So she went to attack me. When she attacked me, obviously I wasn't paying attention because I was trying to get up to let's restart. And that's when that happened. She did that to my ankle. And
so let me ask you this then. So there's a lot of I understand coming from where you were coming from, bad relationship. You want to know how to defend yourself, all that. But I'm curious, what and you had been dating someone that did jiu-jitsu, so that was kind of that was all part of what played into you getting started. You took off a year though. So what would you took off a year because you got injured? What made you say no? I'm going to go back. I feel like a lot of us, myself included, would have said, well, fuck that. I'm good. I barely started and I got injured. Yeah. Why did you go back?
I fell in love with it.
Okay.
Because it's just the stuff that I had learned, even in those couple of classes. I knew that I can take that. Not that I would be looking for a fight in the street, but if I needed to, I at least knew a couple of moves, and I wanted to learn more. And it's really weird because I've gone through phases where I'll try something out and then I'm like, okay, nope, and I'll be really into it and then I'm done.
It's a phase.
And with jiu-jitsu though, it hasn't been that way, and it's especially like looking back, being injured barely in like my second or third class, and having that type of injury where it took me out for such a long time, and then to say, okay, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I can say is that I fell in love with it, and so that's what made me want to start again.
That makes sense. So something you said I wanted to speak to is I feel like a common misconception when it comes to people that train, whether it's jiu-jitsu or all mixed martial arts or, striking, whatever, is that, and I'm not saying that this is across the board and there aren't violent people that are just violent all the time inside those sports, but I've trained just a little bit with you and others, just a little bit jiu-jitsu, and I've been in and around the MMA community for a while now, and I've been blown away by the kindness and the humility and just nice people, not violent people. I'm not running into people that want to step off and have a fight right away. I'm running into people that are just super nice and want to teach you or train you, or even if you're not in a training setting, they're just very, very calm, seem very centered. And I don't know that this is a widespread misconception, but I know it is a misconception that, well, if you train martial arts or you train, grappling or boxing or whatever it is, like, you're a pretty violent person. I feel like it's the opposite.
For me, I think it is opposite. I think for the most part, I see it as, because we know how to defend ourselves when you're trained. There's just so much discipline that goes on with it, and so much. You have to be humble, or you actually end up being humbled if you're not humble.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you will be humbled really quick. Especially, I think I find that more for the men who come in and, maybe they lift a lot. Or
it happened to me. Like, I rolled with her for, it wasn't long, but we partnered up for, I'd say, 15, 20 minutes maybe. You'd know better than me, but all she did was, and I'm trying to be gross, okay, but she sat on top of me, and she said, just try to knock me off. And I feel like I had lost some weight at that point, or maybe I think I was still fat then. I was still fat, but still, like, I was bigger than her, and I'm a guy, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll knock you. Sure, no problem. I couldn't knock her off. It was impossible. It was very emasculating, and I don't plan on rolling with you again, by the way. But it was interesting, not just emasculating, it was very interesting to see, and like you said, the humility plays a role, and I had to realize, okay, I can't knock her off.
Right.
What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And then we switched, and she said, "Now you're on top. Just try to stay on top, buddy." I didn't say it like that, but like that. That's how I felt, and I couldn't stay on top. Like, I sat on top, and she had me flipped in just a split second. Yeah. Now understand, I'm not trying to discourage anyone from training. I think people should train this sort of thing. I think it's really, really not just interesting, but like you said, it teaches you humility, and it teaches you a lot of really great skills when it comes to just defending yourself. But it was very mind-blowing for me to have you just manhandle me. And keep in mind, I had no training whatsoever, and you've been training for years. I am the lowest of the white belt that you could possibly be, and you're at the top of the blue belt system. So I don't want to discourage anyone from training. If anything, I hope that what we talk about encourages you to train, but it should be noted that it teaches you humility, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. So in talking to that a little bit more, I just want to make that statement that I feel like there's a lot of, it is violent. When you watch it on TV and when you see all the blood, like, that's the violence that you see for sure. But what you don't see, and I think the UFC is doing a good job, and Bellator, of doing a lot of filming during training.
Yeah, I mean,
and
you
showing
see the hard work that they're putting in.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of sweat. There's a lot of road work, like, as boxers would call it. Like, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that humiliates you that you just don't see. So I just want to speak to that and say, like, I really, really feel that if there is a bad rap when it comes to MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, any of the martial arts, that these people are violent, I'm not saying there's no truth to that. I'm saying
I think
very little.
There's like, you have your bad apples.
Yes.
But that's like with anything. But I think for the most part, I feel, at least for myself, because I know how to defend myself, I'm not going to put myself in I'm going to avoid being in any altercation with anybody, and I'm going to keep my distance, because I know that to some degree I can defend myself.
Right.
And you more than likely do not.
No.
So it's kind of like, in order to protect you.
I'd be more prone to want to get in a fight than someone that knows the levels to this and knows like, yeah, I could probably take that guy out. It's funny to look at it that way, because to me, I could look at someone and say, yeah, I could probably take that guy out, and I can't. So I'll give it a shot because I'm overconfident because I don't understand. Mm-hmm. But you understand, and instead of having the attitude of, yeah, I could probably take that guy out, so I will, it's, I could probably take the guy out, so I won't. Right?
Yeah. Kind of something like that, yeah. And it's funny because, like, when you start training and it's more of, like, become, like, your lifestyle and you go places, I remember, like, I think towards the end of my white belt, like, days, I remember I'd go somewhere.
So, sorry, let me stop you. Please hang on to that thought. Let's explain that system to them. So, just give them the belt order.
So you have white belt.
So when you first start, you're a white belt.
You're a white belt, fresh. So you start at white, then it's blue, then purple, brown, and black. Okay. But within each belt, you have stripes. So.
And this is your specific jiu-jitsu? Or does all jiu-jitsu do this?
It's pretty consistent. This is how it all is. There are some academies, I think, for the old school jiu-jitsu, how it used to be. Like, I know with Master Carlson Gracie, he didn't really care about stripes.
Okay.
For him, it was more, you know, you get your blue when you can handle yourself as a blue belt and represent the team and handle yourself with that belt. Okay. You know, it wasn't so much like, I know Master Carlson Gracie Jr. has talked about, I have a video actually, I should probably share that. But, you know, he talked about being at I don't remember what belt it was, but he was at a certain belt for like a very, very long time. And it was kind of one of those things, if you did ask for, like, you know, when you were going to get your belt, you know, he'd make you wait even longer.
Oh, nice.
Because you asked. So, but yes, for the most part, it is 4 stripes per belt, and so if you're a white belt, you get your first stripe, second, third, fourth, and then you would go up to blue.
Right, and then you gain these stripes, and you gain new belts by experience, by coming to class, by being consistent. Okay.
Yes, and then just like it's
and your skill level.
Yeah, your skill level, but also different academies. Or some academies do it by how many times you're actually attending class. Other academies will do it by how far you.
How you progress.
Yes, correct.
Do you remember your original thoughts still?
No.
I shouldn't get sidetracked.
What was it?
We were talking about.
This happens to me a lot. So,
same here. So this will be an interesting podcast. No, you're talking about towards the end of your. White belt.
That's right. So like I remember going into like places and like, so I don't really I don't like to. Like, I will drink wine and whatnot, but I don't like to put myself in a mental state where I'm not, like, fully aware.
Yeah.
And it's only because I just always want to be able to make sure that I can defend myself if anything happens, if I'm, you know, at a, you know, the grocery store, whatever, their club or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I remember going into, like, to watch the UFC events and stuff, and, like, or just any, like, party or room, and I'd look around to see, like, I wonder if I could take that person. I wonder if I could I did that a lot.
I love it. Yeah. Let's talk about women in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and how that's kind of evolved over the more recently. I mean, I know I can see in MMA, like, a rise, you know, in popularity for seeing women punch each other in the face. But, like, as far as training and Jiu Jitsu, how has that evolved recently?
So when I first started, I had no idea that there was teams.
Okay.
I had no idea that there was competition. I just went to class.
Okay.
I wasn't exposed to any of that, but I didn't see any of that until I went to 2013. I started at Carlson Gracie Temecula, and that I was the only female training there at that school at the time, and I think I was there by myself for probably a year. So we had women that would start and then they'd leave and then start and then leave.
And I can imagine it'd be pretty discouraging if there was very few women. It wouldn't be that easy to continue training.
Well,
for a lot of people.
For a lot of people, I think, especially for women, I think when you start, it's just so intimidating. It's super intimidating to walk into a gym and you see, you know, people, you know, doing the warm up and they're running, and like when I first started, I couldn't run. Like they have you like, you know, run around the gym and do a lot of the warm up stuff, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like I worked up to it because at first I could barely run. I wasn't active at all. No, but I just wasn't active. I had never lived an active lifestyle, and especially at that time, I wasn't nowhere near like active. So I couldn't do push-ups. I couldn't do anything. So it was just coming in and knowing absolutely nothing and not being active. It's just very intimidating.
For sure.
And even more for a female, I think, because you come in and it's a male-dominated sport, and you go through these thoughts of like, oh, I don't want to look stupid, or it's just, I think it's normal. But when I first started, I was the only female, and it didn't bother me. I liked it, actually.
Cool. It's a challenge. So, speaking to that, how has it evolved? And you're seeing more women now, right?
Definitely a lot more women.
Okay.
Especially.
And the competition, there's a lot more women.
Especially in the competitions. Like when I first started competing, I remember.
So let me just really quick break it down, because I went to one
Jiu-Jitsu
twice.
World League.
We went to two. We went to the one where Eddie Bravo was like, no, go away. Remember?
Eddie Bravo.
Yeah.
Go away.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Anyways,
Yes.
I've been to a couple. I've
Yeah.
been to a couple. Not that I know anything, but let me just talk to anyone out there that doesn't know much about jiu-jitsu. So you train and train and train and train, and it's not that much different from what you're seeing on TV with the UFC. You train a lot, and then you go to a competition in front of a bunch of people, and you place, you get a medal, you get bragging rights for your gym, whatever, or your academy, I should say, whatever the case may be. That's what she's talking about. Is tournaments are when you actually go and I just wouldn't say fight. What would you call it? Or would you say fight? Match.
Well,
you have a
match.
You have a match against someone from a different.
Sometimes the same. So either from a different academy or it's the same academy. Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, that's the whole system that you're talking about. But what you were saying was you're seeing a lot more women competing these days.
Yes, because when I first started, I would have to drop my age bracket, and sometimes I would have to drop my weight bracket, or I would have to go up. And because I'd have to go against like really young girls, like 18, 19, and I was like already in my 30s when I started competing. So, but now I've seen how I don't have to do that anymore.
Oh wow.
But it also depends on like which competition you sign up for. Sometimes you still will. Yeah, but I've seen definitely an increase in women competing versus when I first started competing as a white belt.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I want to talk just a little bit about myself, because I recently had a jiu-jitsu match. It was a no-gi, so I didn't have the cool karate outfit.
That's not
I know, but it looks
By the way, if you guys don't know, so for people who train jiu-jitsu, when you call jiu-jitsu karate, it's like...
It's a big no-no.
It's a big no-no. It's like, there's a meme. Have you seen the meme?
There's
like the guy's holding, like a bomb.
Okay.
And then it says, like, when they called jiu-jitsu karate, and it's like the guy giving giving the bomb, yeah.
Anyways, I didn't have one of your cool outfits, but I did train. A friend of mine talked me into... Bored?
No,
just kidding.
So
I'm just kidding. I
tired.
had to poke fun. So, a friend of mine talked me into doing a jiu-jitsu match on a week and a half's notice. We actually had a fight or a match the same day as the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight. So I trained for 1.5 weeks to have a jiu-jitsu match, and I won, which was really fun and really empowering. But I just want to talk about that for a minute, not just about myself, but to say that it's a really I think it's a very empowering, yes, very humbling, but very empowering process. Whether you win or lose, to be able to walk into a place and know that you're putting on the line, not everything, but so much of yourself. Like you're giving your entire everything that you can give to beat someone else at something. And I'm not saying like it's different. I've played sports. I've played basketball and football and not just backyard like in junior high and high school. Like I played these sports and it's fun and it's enjoyable, but it's a team sport. There's other people there, not just supporting you, but that you have to count on in order to win or lose. And to be fair, having a coach that was able to, honestly, there was a couple times where I didn't know what to do next. I got side control, and then I was like, shit, like I don't know, where do I go from here? And he walked me through what I needed to do next, hop over or whatever it was. So I'm not diminishing that, but I'm saying you as one single person stepping onto a mat, into a rain cage, whatever you want to call it, and putting that much on the line against another human being, and if you come out winning, it's an incredible feeling. And I was blown away by how it felt. And I've said this a couple times, but there's a movie that I love called Fight Club. I actually have the soap up here from Fight Club, and there's a scene in the movie, and I didn't know there was no striking. It was all just wrestling. I'm not on that level at all, and I wasn't even that good. To tell you the truth, and she was there. Thank you for coming and supporting me. I didn't even have, it was an arm triangle, right? I think it was an arm triangle. I didn't even have it locked in. My cardio was better. I just wore the guy out and laid on him, to be very honest. That's what happened. I wasn't under his chin.
You did good at like taking him down, and I think that, so with jiu-jitsu, especially competing, it's such like a mental thing. I knew that the moment that you took him down, his confidence level dropped like a lot. You could just see it. And I've like done scorekeeping for competitions before, and you can see when the person kind of just like not checks out, but where they're just
I think I might lose.
I'm gonna lose, or they start to panic, and I seen that in him, and I knew that so that when you guys went into overtime, I knew that if you took him down again, like you were gonna dominate him, and which is exactly what happened. Yeah.
And like I said, thank you. And like I said, it was just a very crazy experience. But speaking to Fight Club, there's a scene where Ed Norton's boss, the narrator's boss, comes in and he's talking, and Ed's standing there or sitting there at his desk, and the boss is going. It sounds like the Charlie Brown, like, and you can't understand what the guy's saying. And Ed Norton, the narrator, says, after you've been fighting so long, it kind of dulls out all the normal humdrum parts of life. And I'm not comparing myself. I'm just saying that I have a lot going on between living here in California, having a child here, having different things to deal with in regards to that. A lot of things, not my child and her importance, but a lot of the things that bugged me or nagged at me on a consistent basis now, or especially right after that, it was really inconsequential, which really surprised me. I actually mentioned it to my therapist because it took me by surprise. Like this stuff used to really bother me, and now I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I think it just comes with the territory. So I don't know how much of that is scientifically true, but I would encourage a lot of people to try, whether it's jiu-jitsu or some other kind of wrestling or some other form of martial arts. I encourage you to try it because I think it brings a new level of awareness to you. And we'll get off the subject in a second, but I want you to talk a little bit, because I competed once in my entire life. You've competed, do you know how many times? Give me a ballpark.
Over 10. I think the first year that as a white belt, the first year as a white belt, in 1 year, not my first, how was it? Basically, in 1 year, anyways, I competed like 9 times.
Oh, damn.
I competed 9 times.
Okay.
I did a lot.
So, how does that feel walking in, knowing, that because you've trained for months, years, and now you're walking into this arena or wherever it is, and like, it's all on the line now. How does that feel? Put that into words.
Scary. It's very intimidating, and especially my first competition, it was for a very well-known like event. So it's IBJJF. And they had an event. It's one of the smaller ones. So IBJJF is International Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Federation.
She said it really fast. It was International Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Federation. Thank you.
So they are. I'm pretty sure they're the longest standing event. Yeah, they've been around. They've been around for a while. And my coach actually didn't. So I started at the school in March, and this competition was in November.
Okay.
And I had asked if he thought I was ready, and he kind of was like, man, no. And then I had, a friend that was like, you just got to do it. You just got to go out there. And he's like, you've been training for, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 7 months.
Longer than a month and a half.
Yeah.
Or a week and a half, sorry.
Yeah, and he's like, you've been training for a couple months now, and you train all the time, and, you just need to get out there. And I was very nervous. It was in Long Beach. And, you know, you walk in and you want to make your instructor, you want to make your coach proud. I mean, you also want to make yourself proud, but I think
your team.
Yeah, you want to make your team proud. And at the time, it was my first comp, and like my brother went, and then my aunt and uncle from like my dad's side came, and I remember being really nervous. And it's funny because me and the girl are friends on Facebook now.
That is funny.
Yeah, and like I remember watching her warm up with like her husband, and she looked like it was intimidating. So she's like warming up with her husband. She's doing all these drills, and I'm just like standing there like, okay.
Just hanging
I did like some jumping jacks. Like that was it. And,
that's awesome.
And then like they call us, and you gotta get weighed in. So with jiu-jitsu, you have to weigh in right before you fight. It's not like MMA where you weigh in and then the following
next day you fight. Okay.
No, so if you're cutting weight or if you're dehydrated or whatever it is, that's how you're going to
right
fight.
to your fight. Damn.
So I'm standing now, you know, we got weighed in. I had my gi checked and everything because it has to be, you know, go through, what's it called? It has to pass, basically.
Yeah.
I think you have regulations. Yes.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm standing next to this chick, and, you know, her husband keeps, like, telling her stuff, and I think he was competing as well. And so I'm like trying to block it out, and you know, I don't have anybody there. My coach is up in the stands. And,
oh, damn.
And so then you get called, they call your number, so you have to walk over to the area, and I'm like standing there, and I'm just like, okay, trying to warm up. Now, mind you, I had some advice going into it.
That's good.
But what nobody told me was that I was going to have the adrenaline was just going to pump through. Mm-hmm. Nobody prepared me for that. And so, like, and I don't know if you can really prepare anybody for that.
I mean, you have more experience than me, but something happened, so I want you to continue your story, but I want to speak to that just a little bit from a beginner, because you were a beginner once. You're talking about that. I was a beginner. I had a very weird thing happen. I had a lot of adrenaline training and everything, a lot of adrenaline, a lot of acid reflux, a lot of nerves going into it, and then the day of, I told you this, it just all went. It was gone. Yeah. Something got me zoned out, and I don't know what it was. But I think it was because I kept telling myself, and my coach too kept telling, I'm not saying, not comparing coaches, just saying, my coach kept telling me, like, you can't get away from adrenaline during the fight. And during the match, like, for sure adrenaline kicked in, but leading up to it.
It's different. No, when you're competing, the adrenaline, it's a little different.
Yeah. Like,
you get it, but it's just hard to explain, especially to people that have never done it, but, like, you still feel that adrenaline while you're competing, but it's just kind of like...
You can control it. No?
I don't know. And I think, too, that it has a huge part that played into it as well was that I was at a huge university, so there's stands.
Oh, wow.
And there's, like, you know, there's, like, all these people.
Ton of people.
And, like, yours was more intimate.
No, there wasn't. There was maybe 20 people came to see this.
And it was intimate, and you had, that is where you did all your training.
True, that's very true.
Yeah,
so that's
so
probably
you felt,
what helped
I think
me.
it helped you a little bit.
For sure, that makes sense.
Not that you not like even if you would have been nervous, it would have made sense to me. But I was really surprised that you weren't that nervous. You just wanted to get it over with.
It was super weird.
I thought that was weird because I was like, I remember, I actually hated...
The stage makes a difference, though. I agree with you. Like, I've never competed on that stage, but like I've stood and sang in front of hundreds of people, so like that's very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So not the same thing, but like adding all those spectators to what you're doing makes a huge difference. I agree 100%. Yeah.
But
So your first competition, he was giving her all these pointers. You were just doing jumping jacks.
Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna
we're gonna do this now.
So up in the stands, I could see like some of my teammates, my coach, and some of my family members, and they're like, you know, like fight, and the adrenaline was just came, and I drew a blank. I kind of not blacked out, but I just drew a blank. So everything that I had learned in all these months,
it was all out the window.
It just went out the window.
Oh, shit.
And so then I was stuck in this girl's garden. Basically, that means we're both on the floor. Her legs are wrapped around me.
You're on your back?
No, I was on my knees.
Okay, so you're both on your knees.
No, she's on her back.
Okay.
I'm in her guard.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
So she's laying down on her back. She's got her legs wrapped around me.
Got it.
And I'm on my knees, and I have my hands like this. And so like my coach
Why were your hands way out there?
What do you mean? They're where her belt is.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
So I was making sure she wasn't pulling me down. Because when she pulled me down, then she could do stuff.
I'm trying to coach you, so.
Yeah. And
because that makes sense.
And then, like, my coach was telling me to get out of her guard. And I used to be scared of standing up And the reason why I've always been scared of standing up is because
I get taken down.
Well, I'm going to get taken down for one, but two, I've always been scared of injuring that ankle again or my knee or something because especially when I think you've gone through an injury like that, it's kind of like
well, your brain is trained to protect
right.
that.
And so I didn't want to stand up, and I just kept trying to. It was ridiculous. And I was in her guard, which you're not supposed to do this because she could have armbarred me. I was in her guard, and I kept grabbing her kimono like this.
It to you?
No, and I just was reaching over like that.
What's that gonna do for you?
Well, you could choke her.
Oh, okay.
But you shouldn't do that when you're in someone's guard.
Yeah.
If I was completely on top,
they had me train that at your school from the top position. Yes.
Yeah, but not in someone's guard.
Yeah, not in the guard.
Because when you have your arms like this and you're throwing that arm across,
then it's free.
And you're giving them a free arm, and they can go ahead and wrap their leg around it, and then there you go, you got an arm bar. And so my coach kept was like yelling at me, and it didn't matter how many times he yelled at me. I just kept doing that because I just wanted to choke her so I could win and we could be over. But that is not how I played out. I'm pretty sure she won like on points.
Oh, okay. So there was no submission.
There was no submission.
By takedowns and all that sort of thing.
She didn't do a takedown, but I remember she won by points. And then I was like, okay. Cool, that was my first tournament. All right, we're done. And then I went and, had dinner with, like, friends and stuff.
It just, what did you say, scared? How did you feel, like, scared or fear or just a lot of adrenaline going into it the day of or the moment before, like, a lot of adrenaline, and then losing wasn't this end of the world kind of thing for you?
No, it wasn't. But it's
That's
weird.
encouraging. I think people need to hear that. It's encouraging. Like, you lost, but it's not. Well, I don't know if you have something else to say.
I have more to say.
But you lost. But like for me, like I again, not the same at all. I won, but had I lost, I didn't let myself. I told a few people, I didn't let myself ever think like I'm gonna lose, or well, if I lose, it's not. No. There was no losing. Like I wasn't going to lose. And I'm not saying like if I actually competed that I would win every time. Obviously, there's no way, or win even the first time. But I think my mindset, and when it was over, I relented and thought, well, even if I'd lost, I trained for a week and a half. I burned some fat. I learned a few things because we very repetitious learned a lot of different things. Well, not that many, but like 2 or 3 things that like, okay, I understand this now. Like I know where my knees are supposed to be, where my arms are supposed to be. So like I learned some valuable things. So even after a loss, unless it's something colossal, I feel like you can still look back and say, yeah, but I learned some really cool shit.
Yeah, so the thing is that they say in jiu-jitsu, you don't lose, you learn. But it's just kind of, I mean, to some degree, yeah, that's true, but no, you lost. So you fucking lost. Like, and it does feel shitty. Especially, I think, so for me, the first competitions, the first, like, maybe 5 of them, I just was losing.
Same with my coach has been the same. Like his first several, he's lost.
Yeah, and it's and you just get to a point. Like I remember the one that really affected me was my coach had a tournament at the school. Okay. And so there was like all these people there, and that is where I was even more nervous.
Really? Even above like this university and all, but was it because you knew more of those people? It was because
I knew those people. Gotcha. It was very intimate. They were like right there looking at me versus when I had competed like the first time, right? They're in the stands. So you don't you're not like actually seeing face to face. But yeah, so that tournament I went up against he kept bugging me about competing, and so I was like, fine, I'll do it. And I went up against a teammate. Well, technically, she wasn't a teammate because she's a judoka. So, and she was like a brown belt in freaking judo. Shit. Okay, and she was like 17. She was ridiculously young. And here I am I was like 31, 32 maybe. Damn. And I was like, damn it, like, and so I was like, maybe I should just pull guard like right away. Yeah. And pulling guard is basically you're gonna sit on your butt, but you're gonna try to do something.
Bring them to you in an effort to submit them.
And she's a judo player, so picture her like Ronda Rousey. You know how Ronda Rousey, passes and then boom, she goes for that arm. That's exactly what she did. It was quick.
So you took her down. She got side control.
She came. So I like tried to come down, and then she passed my guard, and then she came at my side. and she grabbed my arm, and then it was like, boom, she won. It was done. It was over. It was like so fast. And like my coach like laughed, and like I was so pissed.
Oh no.
And like her butt hurt because I'm like, to me that's not funny. Like
that
you
sucks
know,
ass.
like it was.
Damn.
It sucked. Like, and mind you, like at this time, like I was training like every day.
Yeah.
I was training a lot, and I just felt like I'm training so much, and like I have nothing, and it sounds a little ridiculous, but it was like I have nothing to show for it. Like I'm training, I suck, but like I went up against a judo brown belt.
Yeah.
You know, like it
That's
was.
ballsy.
This girl has put in so much mat time.
Yeah.
You know, of course she won. I was just a white belt.
Right.
And so I remember being so upset that I lost because I just felt like such a failure that I left and I went to the parking lot and I was like crying and
Damn.
and I just was like, why am I doing this to myself? I'm losing. Why am I even doing this? It feels so crappy to lose. You know?
This was your second loss, third loss? Where would you put it? Towards the end?
It was like maybe like the third.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like maybe like the third.
So those are adding up. Like those are consecutive losses.
Yeah, so it was like third or fourth. But it was just like I just kept losing, and I just was like, why am I even competing? Like, why am I doing this? I'm putting so much mat time in, and obviously I'm not good if I'm losing.
Right.
Because then that's what you think. You start thinking.
Yeah, your mind goes there for sure.
Well, you're crappy. What do you know? You're just wasting your time. Is what you start to think about. And everybody was. I had like. So that time was when it was just the majority of my teammates were men. And it was kind of like a big brother mentality. It was just kind of like, suck it up, you train, you just keep training, you keep training. You're going to get better.
But you need that win. You need some kind of momentum to keep you
going.
Beyond like you learn cool shit and it's interesting or fun or they teach you cool lessons about the history of the art. Like, that's all great.
Yeah.
But you got to have a win somewhere.
And you're right, because when you do compete and you lose, whether you win or lose, you're going to learn.
Yes.
That's why I don't like that, you either win or you either win or learn.
Right.
There is no losing. Well, no,
there is losing.
There is losing.
You do lose.
And you learn no matter what, whether you win or lose.
That's true.
Because even with you winning, there's stuff that you learned that you made mistakes on, right? It's like you get to see like the gaps that your game has, and like, okay, I need to work on this. I need to work on like doing takedowns or defending a takedown or whatever it is. So you do learn, and so then that's when you're able to kind of like open up your jiu-jitsu more to not perfect, because you're never really going to perfect it, but you're able to
fix. And okay. All right, so losing sucks.
Yes, it does.
And when you lose, you really lose. And when you win, what's that like?
It feels really good.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I think when I had my losses, I felt like I was letting down my team.
Sure. And
I think that probably stems from like childhood of feeling like I didn't make my team proud, especially my coaches.
That makes sense.
But I'm pretty sure that comes from like childhood, where I just felt like I let them down.
Yeah.
And
you're trained that way.
And then I also but winning, it felt really good. And I've seen people really celebrate their wins, and I've never done that. Like I'll look down. For sure. Well, you also won money.
That's true.
So, I've been competing for a while, and I never won any money. And I probably never will, because of just how jiu-jitsu is right now. But yeah. I mean, unless I'm like at some elite level, which I doubt it. I'm like 36 now, so that's probably never going to happen. But, I mean, it'd happen, I think, if I really put,
Yeah,
if you really put like your time into it, you can make it.
Yeah.
But no, it does feel good. It feels like all that time that you put in
was actually worth it.
Yeah, here it is.
This is my accomplishment.
So I have some gold medals at home. My last white belt competition, I did gi and no gi, and I placed gold, and I placed first in both of them.
Both? Mm-hmm. Damn. Where was that?
That was somewhere out in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had...
Like what tournament? Do you remember? No?
I do remember the tournament, but I'm not going to promote them.
Fair enough. So we're going to move on to talking a little bit about social media marketing. And because we both do social media, we've both done social media for some time. To put it in perspective, I'm working really hard at building a personal brand, kind of my own way. But Emma's been doing it for a lot longer. And actually, when I first met you, that's who I knew you as. We had a mutual friend that said, hey, I know this person, and this person being her. So she's built a personal brand on BJJ Girl Emma. Literally, if you Google that, like, you're the first 2 or 3 spots for sure on Google, your website, and especially your Facebook. Her Facebook following is it 150 or is it approaching 150?
I wish.
Right there.
Right now, it's 140. It's about to hit 143.
Yeah, so she's
Facebook.
quickly approaching 100. And by those numbers, we mean she has almost. So right now, she has about 143,000 people that have hit that like button on her page. I don't have any clients that have done that, and that doesn't mean I love my clients; they're great. But I don't know anyone personally that has a personal brand that's built it, especially on Facebook, to that level. So I want to talk about that a little bit, and talk about the hard work that goes into that, and the fact that it's not we. As consumers, me and you and everyone else, we see like, oh man, all these likes on your page, or all these followers, or I've been to, and this is not to pump her too much, but it's gonna happen. I went to a couple of events with her. People walk up to her and they don't call her Emma. Like I call her Emma, they say, oh, BJJ Girl, and not just anybody, like people that are big names in the industry, like oh, BJJ Girl, like that's how they know her, is by her name on Facebook. So she's been very successful at building a personal brand. But like I was getting back to what I was saying, me and you, us commoners, see the front end and see all these likes or popularity or people running up to you and saying your name, but we don't see the hours of hard work that goes into the back end. We don't see all the tons and tons. Could you even quantify how many posts you've put up on that Facebook page?
No.
There's just no way. There's been so many posts over how many years?
It's going to be 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, about 5 years.
And when you started, I forgot about this. When you started, what did people tell you about your page? Unless you don't want to say that.
No, it's like, it's very sensitive. I know, but it's like a sensitive subject because I don't even know why I want to get emotional.
No, because that's your baby right now,
Okay, let me reel it in. I can't believe this is gonna.
It's okay. Let me just say this. This is a common thread that you'll hear. You'll hear Conor McGregor say shit like this. You'll hear Floyd say shit like this. When you start something and you dig your heels in and you make it very known to friends, family members, whoever, like, this is my thing and I'm gonna do this. Especially if it's something that's not really widespread, you're gonna get I wouldn't say hate, but you're gonna get negative feedback. Well, it's a flash in the pan, or that's cool, but why don't you really do something with your life, or why don't you pursue something that's worth pursuing? This thing is not really gonna work out. 100,000 plus likes later, tons and tons. I want to say 11,000 plus Instagram followers. And I know, like
13.
13. Okay, I know that I'm getting really worked up about this, and there's people that are watching like, well, yeah, but in real life, like, okay, I get all that, but it's a huge accomplishment, and I want people to understand it's not easy. I want people to understand that when you start something, whether it's a Facebook page or your own business or whatever it is, there's going to be failures, and more importantly, for you to understand, there's going to be naysayers from the get-go that are people that you might be pretty close to that are going to say, look, this...
People that you would never even think, people that you would think would would be very supportive, especially because, like, for me, it was a female in a male-dominated sport. I would think that other
women
females
would be very supportive of you.
Would be very supportive, and
But
it was the opposite.
Wow.
It was completely the opposite, and I did have support from my teammates, and the way it started is like I had lost my job. And my friend said, hey, like, you love jiu-jitsu so much. He's like, why don't you blog about it? And he just like, you don't have to put your name out there. You don't have to put your face out there, but create a blog. And then you could, run ads on your blog and you can create some income like that. And I was like, oh, that's like a really cool idea. So then I started looking into, like, building a website.
Right.
I knew, like, absolutely nothing. Like, I didn't grow up, with technology really. And it wasn't really... And it wasn't even allowed either, like, at home.
Yep.
Which I'm sure we'll get into later.
We
will.
You get the Juno discs, though. Or no, AOL discs.
Always. And I would always, like...
What do I do with these?
Like, I wanted to have, like, internet so bad. And we didn't even have cable, but...
Yep, same.
But it was like, so I started the Facebook page, and I'm like, so my mentality was like, well, who's going to read about me if they don't know who I am?
Mm-hmm.
So then
You started a blog?
I said, we had already, my friend and I, we created the website, and I was like, okay, well, let me focus on Facebook. And he was very adamant. We kind of like separated ways because he had his mentality was one, mine was another.
And this was your thing though, not his.
Well, he's the one that really encouraged me
I know,
to start.
but like it's your thing.
Right, it was my thing.
You had to have that power.
Yeah, and I told him, I was like, look, I just don't think anybody's going to care about me writing anything if my platform, I have nobody talking about me. It didn't make sense to me. And this was all before, like, Gary Vaynerchuk and anybody else that I've ever looked into and I admire now and realize that, like, I actually did the right. I was right.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I created the Facebook page, and I just was sharing. I would post so much on my personal page, and it was all jiu-jitsu. It was all pictures of my teammates and everything. So I was like, okay, let me just share this on a business platform page, an athlete page. And that's just kind of how that started. And then I started realizing, okay, well, what are these numbers? What are these insights? What does engagement mean? What does all this mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm all self-taught, and I just was like, well, what kind of posts are going to give my audience, get them to engage more on each post, and it was just always
getting more eyeballs on what you're posting.
and it was very a lot of the times it was hit or miss. I'd be like, oh, this post is going to be really good,
and
it sucked, and nobody liked it, and I'm like, but that was a really good video or a really good meme, and it's just also,
and there's the other side of the coin too.
Well, that's where you start looking at like the algorithm in Facebook and how it was, and which it has changed. The last change that they made, the big one last year in June, like it really hit pages like mine. I used to have 14 million reach daily. Like, it never dropped over. But mind you, I was also posting consistently.
Right.
But yeah, I had hit 14 million reach, organic reach, which means I had no ads on there. It was all organic.
Yeah, you paid. She didn't pay to
I didn't
make
pay
that
Facebook.
happen. She just put the work in to make it happen.
Yeah, and I mean, when I first started, it was just a lot of pictures of teammates.
Yep.
Articles maybe here and there, and I used to stay up till like 2-3 in the morning, researching content so that I could post.
Yeah.
And I did that for a very long time, and I put a lot of time into the page. And there was a female in the community who made comments like, "Oh, who is she to be Who is she? She's just a white belt. She shouldn't be sharing her opinion." And she's not a girl, she's a woman, it should be BJJ woman, and it was just like really petty stuff. And then she like started making rumors about me and saying that I was going to get famous by sleeping with a lot of black belts. That's the only way I would get famous, apparently. So
that's one way to do it.
Yeah, and and
not the way you did it,
but not the way I did it. Just want to be clear about that. I know that there are some women in the community that are well known, that do have a reputation, but I was raised to always protect my reputation.
Yep.
And so that's always
at the end of the day.
Especially I think.
Especially when you're on a public platform and you're really working at creating a name for yourself.
Yeah, but like at that, it wasn't even about being on a public platform.
I'm the one drinking, not you.
Yeah, it was more so like I was raised a certain way. I was now in this community, and I didn't, because I heard the things that she had to say even more. I was like, no.
Yeah,
that's not how I'm going to do this.
Yes.
That's not how I've done this. And I remember when, as my likes kept going up and up and up, I mean, I hit a time where I was getting 1,000 likes a week. Wow. It was guaranteed 1,000 likes a week. That's how crazy. It was. And in a year, my biggest year, my page grew well over 1,000%.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah. But it was a lot of hard work.
But that's the thing that people don't understand. They don't see the back end. Like,
it took like 2 years to get to that space.
Yeah, and there's a phrase that we've heard and that we've it's really annoying, called overnight success. And I am not saying that there is not overnight success, because there is.
Catch me outside, girl.
Okay, that's one thing, but there's a lot of people that achieve what looks like overnight success because one day you've never heard of them, and then within a few hours or the next day you have. And I don't mean Cash Me Outside. Like I would call those anomalies. Like there's people that like all of a sudden a video goes viral and bam, they're crazy.
Right.
But there's a guy named Ed Bassmaster, who's one of those YouTube prankster kind of guys, right? And he's been getting really big lately, and I would say like in the last 2 or 3 years. So Ed actually got some help from an actor. Now I can't remember his name. But the thing that intrigued me about Ed was I found him and I thought, man, this guy's hilarious. He's got 3 or 4 different characters that he plays. Mumbles is one of them that cracks me up. Like he'll put on a whole costume and be that character, and he's got a guy like the guy just goes and everything. It's funny, and there's a way you look at this guy, like there's all these characters, and I thought, man, where was this guy this whole time? The guy's been doing it for years, and he's been putting out tons of content. And guess what? I don't know if Ed will ever hear this at all ever, but some of it's not the greatest content. Because he started, you got to start somewhere, and it's not. I can't put out content that's as near as good as anything he's ever put out, but he's not an overnight success. He looked like it to me because I found him, and all of a sudden he's got all these followers, and all these subscribers, and he's got contract deals with networks, and that's great. And I thought, wow, this is overnight success because I found him. That's what happens a lot of times. We stumble across someone and think, oh wow, they haven't been popular that long. But if you look back, you see they've been putting in consistent work for years, and a lot of them have tried a bunch of different things that didn't work.
Yeah.
A lot of them have put in work on something that you're never going to hear about because they tried it for 2 or 3 years, it didn't work, it failed, and they had to scrub it completely, and they wiped the internet of it. Or you will find 2 or 3 things and be like, is that guy or that girl that's super famous now? That's them? Yeah, because it's not really overnight success. It's tons and tons of work that get you there. So one last thing on the social media side, and that is, I've seen, not if you want to say something else about your thing, go for it. But I have been appalled by the amount of Instagram and Facebook ads that I've seen that huge agencies put out, where they just completely get it wrong. They miss the mark entirely, and I'm added to a group on Facebook. I think it's called Social Media Managers, and they've put out. They put out one, a really bad one from a drum. It's a drummers magazine. So it's the music industry. They're now partnered with an adult sex toy company, and they have an ad for an adult sex toy on their page.
Guitar page?
Yes, on their drummer's page. And the comments just lit them up. And I was, and again,
and they probably looking at their insights thinking, oh, look at this
great,
ad.
all this engagement.
Yeah.
And they go look at what people are saying, like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So
whoever did that ad probably selected the wrong page, is what I'm thinking.
No. They have a part. This is their second ad like that. They have a partnership with an adult toy company. So vibrators and things like that.
Does it play music or something?
I don't think so. Like, there's no correlation. Yeah. And someone responded, the page responded to someone's comment like, this is in poor taste. And it's not even a moral outrage. It's just you are at the opposite, not opposite, but like, this is not your demographic. Well, you can't like really put, That's not your demographic. Yeah. Like, you're not selling adult sex toys. You're selling drum kits and drumsticks.
And there's probably kids, who
For
are
sure, that was a big
like,
thing.
too.
I don't think it's really geared towards kids. But at the same time, they're going to be there.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a moral outrage. It's just you missed the mark big time. And the company responded to someone with a comment, something like, hey, you not even we're sorry, but just like, look, we have this deal with these people and they're giving us money. You can't say that. It doesn't wipe away the fact that this is a terrible ad. So that's the one that really lit me up the other day. And then the one that is just hilarious is Chipotle's queso. So number one,
can you tell them though? He loves Chipotle.
I go there all the time.
This cheese for like weeks, and I'm like, I don't eat Chipotle. I don't care about the cheese.
I don't even go. I love Chipotle so much. They've given me food poisoning twice, and I still go back to the same exact location that gave me food poisoning because I love Chipotle. However, I hate their queso. It's terrible. It has the consistency of grits, and it tastes like cardboard. So there's that. That's one thing. Another thing is they've kept it on their menu despite public outrage, and they've put ads on Facebook and Instagram talking about their queso, which is funny because there is not a single comment that was like, you know what, it wasn't half bad. Every comment is scathing. This is the worst. I wouldn't give this to my dog. Like, I died after I ate this. Like, all these people saying terrible things. So I'm not saying that's all product based. That's all like, hey, your product sucks, or you're offering the wrong product, so you miss the mark in that way. Can you think of some other ways where big companies have just completely missed a mark on social media marketing, or just something in general that like you've seen like, no?
I don't like it when business pages post and it's like a story. It's like no one's gonna read that. Yeah, shorten it up.
Yeah, I didn't follow General Electric to hear about this person in Alabama that was really struggling, and then they got these special light bulbs, and now things are great.
Clickbait me then.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, give me
to
an article.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I'll go read it.
Big
I'm not gonna read that.
No.
I don't like it when they do that. I don't like it when clients that I've had, that is how they would do their social. Whoever was doing it before would do it like that. I'm like, no.
So what we're talking about is what I would call long form. So when you do a Facebook post, you can, I don't know, is it unlimited? I know Instagram is limited in the amount of...
Instagram is just like Twitter. But...
Yeah. But when you write, if you're running a business page, and here's some advice for you, because this is what we do for a living, not just her page, like we have a day job, and this is what we do. When you write a post, make it short and sweet. That is the method to make your Facebook post work. And there's a lot more things, like, well, how do I make it go viral? You don't. You just put in the work. But when it comes to like writing a post, please don't write 4 or 5 paragraphs. No one's going to read it. Yes, that's not true. Your mom will read it. And your cousin will read it. And that's great. But guess what? How much is your mom paying you for your products? And how much is your cousin paying you? Goose eggs. Okay? They're not paying you. So don't write a long-ass thing for your business. And what she was saying was, if you have a bunch of something to say about a product or something, cool. Say it on your site. Have a teaser and a picture that gets people to click on it and go to your site. That's fine. Don't write us big long paragraphs. Yeah. We don't want to read those. No one wants to read those. Let me help you with something on my phone. This is my phone. This is the day and age that we live in. Yeah. If you can catch me while I'm doing this, you got it. Which is why Instagram is beautiful, because it's a picture that will catch my attention. But if I'm scrolling like this and I see a paragraph this long,
or see more,
no. I'm not gonna click see more. It's not gonna happen. Now, if my mom posts something or Emma posts something and it's a really heartfelt thing and it's someone that's on my friends list and it says see more, probably. But if you're a business advertising or a business I follow, don't make me click see more. It's not gonna work. I don't care. I don't want it.
So, it sounds terrible,
right? It sounds terrible, but we're as a consumer.
We're a consumer, too.
Think about it from a consumer perspective. Like, did you get on Facebook today to read a real long article from Walmart? You did not. No. Did you get on Facebook to watch another video about the people of Walmart?
Yes.
Probably. So you gotta figure out what works for you, and it's not hard to figure out. It's keeping it short and sweet.
And consistent.